Hello everyone, let's review the results of December's 3-card blind main event tournament. This month we had 363 participants, 90 of which were brand new players to the event. If you're a new player watching the video right now, thank you for trying out the format. And to all of you, thank you so much for helping this community grow as much as it has in the past year. Among the 363 submissions this month, there were 251 unique decks. If we weigh the cards in those decks by their performance and run them through the Simpsons Diversity Index, we will see that this month was an improvement in diversity compared to the prior month. As a matter of fact, this was the second most diverse month of all time. The 3-card blind diversity grade for this month was an A-. Last month's bans played a major role in shaking up the format. With 3 powerful 1-drops being added to the ban list, we saw the types of decks that were being played shift quite a bit. New cards from the Avatar: The Last Airbender set were also legal for the very first time in the main event this month. There are a handful of cards that deserve honorable mentions, but by far the one that played the most significant role on this month's meta was Dai Li Indoctrination. In combination with Mox Jet and Mutavault, this deck can either strip an opponent's hand of a critical piece like its creature or a Mox, or you can Earthbend your Mutavault, which will turn it into a 0/0 with 2+1/+1 counters. This means the deck has the ability to activate Mutavault to turn it into a 4/4 to push more aggressively for damage, or to hold it up as a very powerful blocker. Unsurprisingly, the most popular card this month was Mutavault. Although Dai Li Indoctrination was by far the most popular pairing for Mutavault, we saw several classics like Luminarch Aspirant, Outland Liberator, and Ophelia Viper Whisperer, as well as many others. The most popular non-mana source card other than Dai Li Indoctrination was Energy Field. Although its most popular pairing was with the classic slower combination of Sand Silos and Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, we saw several decks perform very well with it, including some ones that I had never seen before, like Energy Field, Sleep Curse Fairy, and you're gonna have to forgive me for this one, but we'll take a shot at it, Svilanite Temple? And with that, I think we can dive straight into discussing this month's winners and explore meta trends more as we do so. In Novice 4, our winner was MDC Jr., who was playing Reinforced Ronin, Stormworld, and Undiscovered Paradise. Stormworld is a card that I don't think we've talked about on this channel in a long time. Its symmetrical effect that punishes players for having fewer cards in their hand is very powerful in a format where players only begin with 3 cards in their hand in the first place. But to break parity on the symmetry of this card, you need to rely on cards that can be returned to your hand like Reinforced Ronin and Undiscovered Paradise. As a quick note here, one of the advantages to running Undiscovered Paradise even if you are not using a card like Stormworld is that it gives you a slight edge against Stormworld if you happen to run into it. In Novice 3, our winner was Mr. Depletion, who was playing Abrade, Pardic Dragon, and Sandstone Needle. For those of us who have been around for a long time, it might be hard to believe it, but we haven't seen Pardic Dragon submitted to the main event since March of 2024. Back then, it was being paired with Wild Magic Surge, and this combination is what got Wild Magic Surge banned in the first place. Abrade is much weaker than Wild Magic Surge, but seeing this deck come in first is a huge nostalgia hit for 3-card blind veterans. In Novice 2, our winner was Breadbasket, who was playing Mana Crypt, Phyrexian Dreadnought, and Sundial of the Infinite. Sundial of the Infinite lets this deck forcefully end its own turn while Phyrexian Dreadnought's trigger is on the stack to effectively counter that trigger and cheat Phyrexian Dreadnought into play on the second turn of the game. There is, however, a way to cheat in Phyrexian Dreadnought on the first turn of the game that many of you probably already know about, and those of you who don't will see later in the video as we continue through our winners. In Novice 1, our winner was Mark Confidant, who was playing Get Lost, Luminarch Aspirant, and Remote Farm. This deck structure of a powerful white 2-drop and a powerful white removal spell is a classic one in the 3-card blind format. With Encroach having been added to the banned list last month, perhaps we will see a resurgence in the popularity of these types of decks. In Aspirant 4, our winner was Eilith Nyx, who was playing Ba Sing Se, Helios 1, and Sunken Citadel. Ba Sing Se is one of the new cards from the Avatar: The Last Airbender set that's worth keeping your eye on. It can scale quickly and spread out its threat across multiple lands if need be. And in combination with lands that sacrifice themselves for an effect like Helios 1, the Earthbending clause that returns lands to the battlefield if they get destroyed allows you to double dip on those effects. In Aspirant 3, our winner was Meowserita, who was playing Daily Indoctrination, Mox Jet, and Mutavault. It turns out this was the most popular deck this month for good reason. Turn 1 hand attack is incredibly powerful in 3-card blind, and a backup plan of a turn 1 4/4 is hardly anything to scoff at. In Aspirant 2, our winner was Enhale, who was playing Mana Crypt, Phyrexian Dreadnought, and the Mycosynth Gardens. This is the deck that allows you to drop Phyrexian Dreadnought on turn 1 and threaten a turn 3 kill. It was also the second most popular deck this month, right behind Daily Indoctrination. In Aspirant 1, our winner was Breadmaster, who was playing Gleeful Demolition, Serene Remembrance, and Slagwood's Bridge. This is a deck that had a moment in the spotlight back in October of 2024 when it came in first place in an Exemplar pod. In 3-card blind, although your deck begins the game empty and you don't lose the game for drawing cards while your library is empty, you do still draw cards if there are cards in your library. This means that this deck can create 3 goblins every 3rd turn by targeting its own indestructible land with Gleeful Demolition and using Serene Remembrance to refuel. In Contender 7, our winner was Army Game Lover, who was playing Seize Claim, Sleep Curse Fairy, and Snow Covered Island. With Sauce's Chocobo, Cecil, and Lightstall Inquisitor all out of the picture, Sleep Curse Fairy is starting to look like one of the strongest 1-drops in the format. It's slow but resistant to single target removal, and it's a natural pairing for Seize Claim, which lets you punish decks that are running non-basic lands. In Contender 6, our winner was Spideroy, who was playing Azure Beastbinder, Suprazin Scary, and Tideshaper. This double threat deck is capable of interacting with the opponent on multiple axes. Beastbinder is very effective at pinning down large creatures, and Tideshaper can earn you some free wins against opponents that are playing slower non-basic lands. In Contender 5, we had a tie between Gojirarch and Leaf Snail, who were both playing Daily Indoctrination, Mox Jet, and Mutavault. Powerful and popular, it's not surprising to see this deck winning multiple pods. In Contender 4, we had a 4-way tie. Kvak and Skippytoe were both playing Daily Indoctrination, Mox Jet, and Mutavault, and we've heard quite a bit about this deck already. Off to Lunch was playing Bayou, Skyshroud Cutter, and Spectre's Shriek, which was the Exemplar winning deck from November. It can strip your opponent's hand of any non-land card on the first turn of the game while playing Skyshroud Cutter on the same turn. And Leld was playing the classic Crystal Vein, Magus of the Moon, and Simian Spirit Guide, which can turn off all non-basic lands on the first turn of the game and can't really do much else. It is a very meta-dependent deck, and it looks like Leld made the right call in running it this month. In Contender 3, our winner was Eel, who was playing Angel of Sanctions, Acacian Store, and Maze of Ith. Angel of Sanctions has been one of the strongest storage land payoffs for a long time, and Maze of Ith makes it that much easier to deploy by slowing the game down. In Contender 2, our winner was Ramsey Fox, who was playing Assassin's Trophy, Golgari Rot Farm, and Treetop Village. This was the 3rd most popular deck this month, and it's a strategy that we've seen emerge several times this year because the ability to destroy any permanent is reliable and effective into a huge number of different types of metas. In Contender 1, our winner was Epsilon Greater Than Zero, who was playing Energy Field, Suprazin Scary, and Watcher of Hours. Energy Field slows down the game long enough for Watcher of Hours to get through its lengthy suspend, and once it lands, it is a very big threat and one that's resistant to single target removal. And finally, in Exemplar, we had a tie between Fractal and Neil's 2200, who were both playing Gut, True Soul Zealot, Mana Crypt, and Mox Ruby. If Gut is able to attack uninhibited, this deck can exchange both of its artifacts for 4/1 skeletons and win the game by its 4th turn. The fact that this deck has multiple threats and they have Menace lets this deck push through otherwise tricky defensive obstacles, and it has a little bit of natural resistance to single target removal. And with this win, Neil's 2200 has gained enough elo to become our new champion with a rating of 1861. And with that, I'd like to congratulate our winners one more time before we move on to discussing this month's community ban vote. Because of the holidays this month, the ban vote was announced in the Discord server and concluded before this video was posted. So we will move straight into discussing the updates to the ban list. As a community, this month we voted on 6 different cards. And to dive straight into it, Daily Indoctrination, Energy Field, Angel of Sanctions, and Mana Crypt were added to the ban list, and Assassin's Trophy and Undiscovered Paradise remained legal. Let's begin by looking at the cards that are still legal, starting with Assassin's Trophy. Assassin's Trophy was the most favorably voted on card this month, with a large number of players that wanted it to remain legal and a similarly large number that felt indifferent about the card. It was on this list because of the strong performance of the Assassin's Trophy, Golgari Rot Farm, and Treetop Village deck, which was the 3rd most popular deck this month, and is the 2nd most popular deck in the year of 2025. It looks like we'll be seeing this deck a little bit more in 2026, and I'm curious to see if it will continue to hold its reputation. Undiscovered Paradise will also remain legal, and just to give a bit of background here, this was a 6th bonus card we included on the vote, because when we banned Saz's Chocobo, many community members expressed that they considered Undiscovered Paradise to be a card that offered a free, small advantage to a huge plethora of decks, even after Saz's Chocobo had been removed from the picture. Undiscovered Paradise can shed negative auras like Seize Claim, and it also gives you a small advantage against decks like Stormworld in the off chance that you run into them. This was a close vote and the community was split on the card. Undiscovered Paradise is a little unlike other cards we typically vote on. Its impact on the meta is subtle and its use is ubiquitous. We may want to discuss this card again in the future, but I don't see it making a return on the ban vote for a long time. The first card I'd like to discuss that was added to the ban list is Daily Indoctrination, and as you can imagine, based off of its performance, multiple pod wins, and the fact that it can strip opponents' hands of very specific cards, the community was, for the most part, in agreement that this card ought to be on the ban list. I think it's a little more interesting than hand attack options that are already on the ban list, so perhaps we will see the card unbanned at some point in the future, but for now, I don't think anyone wants to see it again for a while. Energy Field was a very close vote, and you can see that the voting option that had the highest number of voters was actually -1 rather than -2, which means even among folks that wanted the card added to the ban list, there wasn't necessarily very strong feelings about it. That being said, I think we've seen the extent of what Energy Field can offer the meta, at least for some time. I'd rather say goodbye to the card now than wait for it to become stale. Angel of Sanctions was an even closer vote this month, but unlike Energy Field, there were some strong opinions on this card on both ends of the spectrum. It is a card that I'm excited to see finally leave the meta because I believe that its absence will allow other storage land threats that we haven't seen much of in the past to have more breathing room in the meta. And last but certainly not least, we have Mana Crypt. This card was included on the vote because it was enabling many very powerful strategies, including some of this month's winners like Gut, True Soul Zealot, and Phyrexian Dreadnought. Given that this was likely to be the most impactful ban that we were going to see this month, I was surprised to see that most of the community felt similarly about the card and wanted it banned. Seeing a powerful mana source like this added to the ban list could substantially change the landscape of the meta. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one shakes out. And before we wrap up, we do have to cover the outcome of the unban vote that supporters of this community have the privilege of participating in. Among the 10 cards that were eligible to be unbanned this month, 2 of them received enough support to be removed from the ban list, and those 2 cards were Shrieking Affliction and Daze. Shrieking Affliction is a very unusual threat in the format because it's challenging to interact with and remove, but the card technically doesn't really do anything on its own. If you were to play this turn 1 with no additional plan, your opponent can claim a free tie by simply choosing not to play any of their cards. So to best leverage this effect, you will need to bring a second threat to the table to encourage your opponent to participate in playing the game. And Daze is a free to cast counterspell that takes advantage of the fact that 3-card blind decks are very lean and don't tend to bring extra mana to the table. Daze has a natural weakness to storage land decks that can play straight through its effect, but it is nevertheless incredibly strong because of its ability to punish other strategies. And with that all covered, you now have all of the information you need to submit a deck to the next 3-card blind main event tournament, which will begin on January 1st of 2026. Thank you again to everyone who participated this month, and for making the year of 2025 a memorable one in 3-card blind history. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you soon.